Your soulmate's marriage confession left people speechless. Don't scroll. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. This message is for you. If these words found you today, then something powerful may already be happening behind the scenes. While you have been wondering whether your soulmate truly feels the same way about you, whether they think about you when nobody is watching, whether they see a future with you, or if you are simply another chapter in their life, something extraordinary has taken place. Your soulmate made a confession. Not a small confession. Not a casual conversation. Not a passing comment that could easily be forgotten. This was the kind of confession that stopped people in their tracks. The kind of confession that created silence in a room full of voices. The kind of confession that left people speechless because nobody expected those words to come out of their mouth. What they revealed about marrying you was so honest, so emotional, and so powerful that even the people closest to them could not believe what they were hearing. Stay with me because this message may reveal something your heart has been trying to understand for a very long time. Your soulmate has been carrying feelings they could no longer hide. For a long time, they tried to convince themselves that these emotions would fade. They told themselves they should focus on other things. They tried to be logical. They tried to distract themselves. They tried to act as though everything was normal. But every road somehow led back to you. Every thought somehow returned to your name. Every future they imagined somehow included your presence. And eventually, they reached a moment where keeping silent became harder than telling the truth. It happened unexpectedly. Maybe during a conversation with family. Maybe while talking to a close friend. Maybe during a quiet moment when someone asked a simple question about their future. Whatever the situation was, the answer that came out shocked everyone around them. They looked up and said something nobody expected. They admitted that when they think about marriage, they think about you. The room became silent. People waited for them to laugh it off or change the subject. But they didn't. Instead, they continued speaking. And with every word, the truth became clearer. They confessed that no matter how much time passes, no matter how many distractions appear, no matter how many people enter or leave their life, there is still one person they cannot stop thinking about. There is still one person who feels different from everyone else. There is still one person whose presence continues to affect their heart in ways they cannot explain. And that person is you. The people listening could see something unusual in their eyes. This was not fantasy. This was not wishful thinking. This was not a temporary emotion. It was something deeper. Something genuine. Something real. Your soulmate admitted that they have imagined what life would be like if they married you. They have imagined waking up beside you. They have imagined sharing ordinary moments that suddenly become extraordinary simply because you are there. They have imagined celebrating victories with you. They have imagined facing challenges with you. They have imagined building a future together, creating memories together, growing together, and becoming partners in every sense of the word. What shocked people even more was the certainty in their voice. There was no hesitation. No confusion. No doubt. It was as though they had already accepted a truth they had been avoiding for far too long. And when someone asked them why they felt this way, their answer left everyone speechless once again. They said that whenever they imagine true happiness, your face appears. Whenever they imagine peace, your energy appears. Whenever they imagine a future worth fighting for, your presence is there. Listen carefully because this next part is important. Your soulmate also confessed something they have rarely admitted to anyone. They admitted that there were times when they tried to move on. Times when they tried to convince themselves that life would be easier if they stopped thinking about you. Times when they told themselves that perhaps they should focus on someone else. But every attempt failed. Because every comparison somehow brought them back to you. Every conversation reminded them of you. Every memory led them back to the connection they feel whenever they think about your name. This realization frightened them at first. It made them question everything. It made them wonder why one person could have such a lasting impact on their heart. But eventually they stopped fighting it. Eventually they accepted that some connections are too powerful to ignore. Some people arrive in your life for a reason. Some souls leave marks that cannot be erased. And some feelings refuse to disappear because they are meant to guide you toward your destiny. Your soulmate confessed that they no longer see you as a possibility. They see you as someone who changed them. Someone who helped them understand what love truly means. Someone who made them realize that a real connection is not based on convenience or timing but on something much deeper. The people listening could hear the emotion in their voice. They could see the sincerity in their expression. And they realized they were witnessing a moment of truth. One person even asked whether they genuinely believed marriage with you was possible. Your soulmate smiled. Not because they knew all the answers. Not because they had everything figured out. But because deep down they could feel something. They could feel hope. They could feel possibility. They could feel the pull of a future that continues calling their name. And then they said something nobody in that room expected. They said that even if the path is complicated, even if there are obstacles, even if circumstances seem uncertain, they would still choose you. They would still believe in you. They would still see you as the person who holds a special place in their heart. Those words created another moment of silence. Because everyone understood that they were hearing the truth. Not a filtered version of the truth. Not a safer version of the truth. The full truth. The raw truth. The truth your soulmate could no longer keep hidden. And while they were speaking, they were unknowingly sending a message to you. A message carried through thoughts, emotions, energy, and intention. A message saying that you matter more than you realize. A message saying that your presence has left a permanent mark on their heart. A message saying that they are finally becoming honest about what they truly want. Don't stop listening because there is more. Your soulmate also revealed that they often wonder whether you think about them too. They wonder whether you feel the same connection. They wonder whether you notice the signs, the synchronicities, the strange moments that seem impossible to explain. They wonder whether you ever feel their energy reaching for yours in quiet moments. They wonder whether your heart has sensed what their heart has already accepted. Because despite all their confidence in their feelings, there is still one thing they cannot know for certain. They cannot know what is happening inside your heart. Yet somehow they continue believing. They continue hoping. They continue imagining a day when words no longer need to remain unspoken. A day when feelings no longer need to stay hidden. A day when two people stop wondering and finally start building something real together. This confession was not just about marriage. It was about truth. It was about courage. It was about finally acknowledging something that has been growing inside them for a very long time. And that is why people were left speechless. Because genuine honesty is rare. Genuine vulnerability is rare. Genuine love is rare. Yet in that moment, your soulmate allowed all three to exist together. They stopped pretending. They stopped hiding. They stopped running from what they felt. And for the first time, they spoke openly about the future they secretly imagine with you. So if you have been questioning your worth, doubting your importance, or wondering whether your soulmate sees a future with you, this message arrives for a reason. Sometimes the answers you seek are already forming behind the scenes. Sometimes hearts are making decisions before words are spoken aloud. Sometimes destiny begins moving long before you can see the evidence. And right now, your soulmate's heart may be moving closer to a truth they can no longer deny. A truth that includes you. A truth that includes love. A truth that includes the possibility of a future neither of you can fully see yet. But the confession has already happened. The truth has already been spoken. And the people who heard it will never forget the moment your soulmate admitted that when they imagine marriage, when they imagine commitment, when they imagine building a life with someone, the person they see standing beside them is you. Stay with me because the story did not end with that confession. In many ways, that was only the beginning. After those words left your soulmate's mouth, something changed inside them. The truth has a strange way of doing that. Once it is spoken, it refuses to go back into hiding. Once a feeling is acknowledged, it becomes impossible to ignore. Your soulmate walked away from that conversation realizing that they had crossed a line they could never uncross. For the first time, they had openly admitted what their heart had been whispering for so long. And as the hours passed, they found themselves replaying every word they had spoken. Instead of feeling regret, they felt relief. Instead of feeling fear, they felt clarity. Because deep down they knew they had finally stopped pretending. They had finally stopped acting as though you were just another person. They had finally admitted that you are the person who continues to occupy a place in their heart that nobody else has been able to reach. That night, they found themselves thinking about you more than usual. Every memory seemed brighter. Every moment connected to you felt more significant. They remembered conversations they thought they had forgotten. They remembered the way you made them feel during difficult times. They remembered moments when your words stayed in their mind long after the conversation ended. And as they reflected on everything, one realization became impossible to ignore. The feelings they have for you are not temporary. They are not based on excitement alone. They are not built on fantasy. They are rooted in something deeper. Something that has survived time, distance, confusion, and uncertainty. Something that keeps returning no matter how many times they try to focus elsewhere. Your soulmate began to understand that what they feel for you has become part of who they are. It has influenced their decisions. It has shaped their dreams. It has changed the way they look at relationships and the future. They even confessed something else to the people around them later. They admitted that before you entered their life, they thought they knew exactly what they wanted. They had a picture in their mind of how their future would look. But then you appeared, and suddenly their expectations changed. Their priorities changed. Their understanding of love changed. Because you showed them something they had never experienced before. You showed them that real connection is not always logical. It is not always convenient. Sometimes it arrives unexpectedly and quietly transforms everything. The more they talked about you, the more people noticed the emotion in their voice. It was different from the way they spoke about anyone else. There was a softness there. A sincerity there. A depth that could not be faked. And eventually someone asked them a question that made them pause. They were asked what they would do if they had the chance to tell you everything. What would they say if fear disappeared for one moment and honesty became the only option? Your soulmate sat quietly for a few seconds before answering. Then they said something that left everyone speechless all over again. They said they would tell you that you changed their life in ways you may never fully understand. They would tell you that your presence became a source of strength during moments when they felt lost. They would tell you that thinking about you often gave them hope when hope was difficult to find. They would tell you that they never expected one person to have such a powerful impact on their heart. And most importantly, they would tell you that every vision of a meaningful future somehow includes you standing beside them. Those words came directly from their heart. No filters. No defenses. No attempts to hide behind pride. Just honesty. Pure honesty. The kind of honesty that only appears when someone has finally accepted what they truly feel. And after saying those words, your soulmate felt something they had not felt in a very long time. They felt peace. Because keeping secrets is exhausting. Hiding emotions is exhausting. Pretending not to care is exhausting. But truth has a way of setting people free. And your soulmate is beginning to experience that freedom. They are beginning to understand that the connection they feel with you is not something they need to deny. It is something they need to respect. Something they need to honor. Something they need to listen to. Listen carefully because there is another part of this story that matters. Your soulmate has also been noticing signs. Small signs. Strange signs. Meaningful signs. Moments when your name appears unexpectedly. Moments when a song reminds them of you. Moments when a random conversation somehow leads back to thoughts of you. Moments when they suddenly feel your presence even when you are nowhere nearby. At first they dismissed these experiences. They told themselves they were coincidences. But after a while, the pattern became impossible to ignore. It seemed as though life itself kept finding ways to bring you back into their awareness. Every time they tried to focus elsewhere, another reminder appeared. Another memory surfaced. Another feeling emerged. And slowly they began wondering whether these signs were trying to tell them something. Whether the connection they feel is more significant than they originally believed. Whether their heart has been guiding them toward a truth they can no longer avoid. That truth is simple. They care about you deeply. Far more deeply than they ever intended. Far more deeply than they ever planned. And now that the confession has been made, the feelings are becoming even harder to hide. The walls are coming down. The defenses are weakening. The excuses are disappearing. What remains is honesty. What remains is emotion. What remains is a vision of the future that keeps leading back to you. There are moments when your soulmate imagines what it would be like to finally stop wondering and start living that future. They imagine conversations that last late into the night. They imagine sharing dreams, goals, victories, and challenges. They imagine creating a life built on trust, understanding, and genuine connection. They imagine a relationship where neither person has to pretend to be someone they are not. A relationship where both people feel seen, valued, and understood. And every time they imagine that life, they realize something important. The person standing beside them in that vision has always been you. Not someone else. Not a random face. You. That realization continues to grow stronger with every passing day. It is becoming harder for them to ignore. Harder for them to explain away. Harder for them to dismiss as wishful thinking. Because the feeling remains. The vision remains. The connection remains. Even after all this time. Even after all the doubts. Even after all the uncertainty. Your soulmate knows that there are still unanswered questions. They know that life can be unpredictable. They know that timing does not always make sense. But despite all of that, they continue believing that some connections are worth protecting. Some people are worth waiting for. Some stories deserve a chance to unfold. And deep inside, they believe your story together may be one of those stories. So while the world continues moving forward, while ordinary days come and go, while countless people pass through their life, one thing remains unchanged. Their heart keeps returning to you. Their thoughts keep returning to you. Their hopes keep returning to you. And after the confession they made, there is no longer any denying it. The truth is out. The feelings are real. The future they secretly imagine has been spoken aloud. And the people who heard that confession will always remember the look in their eyes when they said it. Because it was the look of someone who had finally stopped hiding from love. The look of someone who had finally accepted what their heart had known all along. The look of someone who realized that when they think about marriage, commitment, and building a future filled with meaning, the first person who comes to mind is you. And now, whether they realize it or not, they are moving closer to a moment when those feelings may no longer remain a private confession. A moment when the words spoken behind closed doors may finally reach the person they were always meant for. A moment when the truth that left everyone speechless could eventually become the beginning of a brand new chapter in both of your lives, and what happened next was something your soulmate never expected. After making that confession, they thought the feelings would settle down. They thought that finally speaking the truth would quiet the emotions that had been growing inside them. But the exact opposite happened. The moment they admitted what was in their heart, the connection seemed to become even stronger. It was as if their soul had been waiting for permission to stop hiding. Every day afterward, thoughts of you appeared more often. Not because they forced those thoughts to appear, but because they simply could not stop them. Your smile would suddenly cross their mind while they were busy doing something completely unrelated. A memory would appear without warning. A feeling would rise in their chest at the most unexpected moments. And each time it happened, they found themselves asking the same question. Why does this person still affect me so deeply? Why does their presence remain so powerful even when they are not physically here? The answer was becoming impossible to deny. Because what they feel for you is not ordinary. It never was. Deep down, your soulmate knows there is a reason your paths crossed. There is a reason your energy continues to linger in their heart. There is a reason your name carries a different weight than every other name they hear. They may not fully understand it yet, but they can feel it. And feelings like these do not disappear simply because someone wants them to. They grow. They evolve. They demand attention. There was another conversation not long after the confession. Once again, someone brought up the subject of relationships. Once again, your soulmate was asked about their future. But this time their answer was even more shocking. They admitted that they had stopped searching for perfection. They had stopped chasing unrealistic expectations. They had stopped looking for someone who checked every box on a list. Because they realized that true connection is not about perfection. It is about resonance. It is about finding someone whose presence feels like home. Someone whose energy creates peace. Someone who understands parts of you that nobody else seems to notice. And then they said something that immediately captured everyone's attention. They said that whenever they imagine that kind of connection, they see you. Not because you are perfect. Not because life would always be easy. But because something about your soul feels familiar to theirs. Something about your presence makes them feel understood. Something about you makes them believe that love can be both exciting and peaceful at the same time. The people listening exchanged glances. They could hear the conviction in every word. This was not someone speaking from impulse. This was someone speaking from deep emotional truth. And then your soulmate revealed another secret they had been carrying. They admitted that there were nights when they lay awake thinking about conversations they wished they could have with you. Conversations that never happened. Words they never said. Feelings they never expressed. They imagined what would happen if they finally had the courage to tell you everything. Would you understand? Would you feel the same way? Would you be surprised? Or would your heart recognize the truth immediately because it had been feeling it too? These questions remained unanswered, but they continued to live inside their mind. The truth is that your soulmate has spent more time thinking about you than most people realize. There are moments when they find themselves smiling because of a memory connected to you. Moments when they feel motivated because they remember something you once said. Moments when they wonder what you are doing right now. Whether you are happy. Whether you are thinking about them too. Whether you have any idea how important you have become in their life. The confession may have shocked everyone around them, but it did not shock their heart. Their heart had known the truth long before their mouth ever spoke it aloud. Their heart had already accepted what their mind was still trying to understand. And now those two parts of them are finally beginning to align. That is why the emotions feel stronger than ever. That is why the memories seem brighter. That is why the future keeps calling to them. Listen carefully because this next part matters. Your soulmate also confessed that one of their greatest fears is missing the opportunity to be honest. Missing the chance to say what needs to be said. Missing the chance to tell someone how much they truly mean before time moves on. This fear has been growing inside them recently. It has made them reflect on life differently. It has made them realize that some opportunities should not be ignored. Some feelings should not remain hidden forever. Some connections deserve a chance to be explored rather than endlessly questioned. And every time they think about that realization, they think about you. They think about how many emotions remain unspoken. They think about how much they wish they could share openly. They think about how different things might be if fear did not exist. If pride did not exist. If uncertainty did not exist. Because beneath all those barriers is a truth that continues to shine through. They care about you deeply. Far more deeply than they ever expected. There was one particular moment after the confession that stayed with them. Someone asked a very simple question. If you could see your future right now, what would make you happiest? Your soulmate paused. They thought carefully before answering. And then they said something that nobody in the room will ever forget. They said happiness is not about money. It is not about status. It is not about impressing other people. Happiness is about sharing life with someone who truly understands your heart. Someone who accepts your flaws. Someone who celebrates your strengths. Someone who chooses you even when life becomes difficult. And when they imagined that person, they imagined you. The silence that followed was powerful. Not because nobody had anything to say, but because everyone understood the significance of what had just been spoken. They were witnessing someone reveal the deepest truth of their heart. They were witnessing someone stop hiding. Stop pretending. Stop running. And that kind of honesty is rare. Very rare. Since then, your soulmate has found themselves paying more attention to the signs around them. They notice repeated numbers. They notice meaningful coincidences. They notice moments that seem too perfectly timed to ignore. Sometimes they wonder if the universe is trying to guide them. Sometimes they wonder if life is gently pushing them toward a decision they already know they need to make. Because no matter how much they try to focus elsewhere, their heart continues pointing in the same direction. Toward you. Toward the connection they feel. Toward the future they secretly hope might still be possible. The most surprising part is that they are no longer fighting those feelings the way they used to. Instead, they are beginning to trust them. Beginning to listen to them. Beginning to believe that maybe their heart knows something their mind has not fully accepted yet. Maybe the reason they cannot forget you is because they were never meant to. Maybe the reason your presence remains so powerful is because the story between you is not finished. Maybe the reason that confession left everyone speechless is because it came from a place deeper than logic. A place deeper than explanation. A place where the soul speaks louder than fear. And every day that passes seems to strengthen that belief. Every day brings another reminder. Another memory. Another feeling. Another moment of clarity. Your soulmate is realizing that some people enter your life and leave a permanent mark. A mark that cannot be erased by time. A mark that cannot be replaced by anyone else. A mark that continues shaping your future long after the first meeting. You are that mark in their life. You are the thought that returns when the world becomes quiet. You are the possibility that continues shining through every doubt. You are the person who appears in their dreams about the future. And although they may not know exactly how everything will unfold, they know one thing with certainty. The confession was real. The feelings were real. The emotions were real. Nothing about it was exaggerated. Nothing about it was imagined. It was the truth. Pure and undeniable truth. And now that truth has been spoken, it is beginning to create changes inside them. Changes that may eventually lead them toward greater honesty, greater courage, and greater clarity. Because the heart can only remain silent for so long before it demands to be heard. And your soulmate's heart is growing louder with every passing day. Louder than fear. Louder than doubt. Louder than uncertainty. It is calling them toward a future they can no longer ignore. A future where the confession that left everyone speechless becomes something even more meaningful. A future where words are no longer hidden behind closed doors. A future where the truth finally reaches the person who inspired it all. A future where you may finally discover just how much you have meant to them all along, and yet, even after all of these realizations, your soulmate still carried one final secret inside their heart. It was a secret they had never fully admitted to anyone. Not their friends. Not their family. Not even themselves. Because admitting it would make everything feel too real. It would turn a possibility into a truth. It would transform a quiet dream into something they could no longer ignore. But after the confession that left everyone speechless, that final secret began rising to the surface. The more they thought about you, the harder it became to keep hidden. The more they imagined the future, the clearer it became. And one evening, while sitting alone with their thoughts, they finally allowed themselves to acknowledge it. They realized that they were no longer simply imagining a future with you. They were hoping for one. Deeply hoping for one. Not as a fantasy. Not as an escape. But as something they genuinely wanted. That realization hit them harder than they expected. Because hope is powerful. Hope changes the way a person sees tomorrow. Hope changes the way a person interprets signs and coincidences. Hope creates possibilities where fear once created walls. And suddenly, your soulmate found themselves looking at life differently. They started paying attention to moments they once ignored. They started noticing how often your name entered their thoughts without warning. They started noticing how their mood changed whenever something reminded them of you. They started noticing that even on difficult days, thinking about you somehow brought a sense of comfort. A sense of calm. A sense of familiarity. It was as though your energy had become woven into their life in ways they could not fully explain. The strangest part was that these feelings never seemed to weaken. Most emotions fade with time. Most crushes disappear. Most temporary attractions eventually lose their intensity. But this was different. The connection remained. The emotions remained. The curiosity remained. The hope remained. And every time they questioned why, the answer seemed to return to the same place. Because there is something about you that feels significant to them. Something that reaches beyond ordinary explanations. Something that continues calling to their heart no matter how much time passes. There was another conversation shortly after. Someone asked your soulmate whether they believed in destiny. Whether they believed certain people are meant to cross paths for a reason. The question caught them off guard. For a moment they simply sat there, thinking. Then they smiled softly and said something nobody expected. They said that before meeting you, they were not sure. Before meeting you, destiny seemed like a nice idea but nothing more. But now they were beginning to wonder. Beginning to question. Beginning to believe that maybe some encounters are not random. Maybe some people arrive exactly when they are needed. Maybe some connections continue surviving because they are meant to teach us something important. Maybe they are meant to change us. And then they admitted that you changed them. Not in dramatic ways that everyone could see. But in quiet ways that mattered even more. You changed the way they think about love. You changed the way they think about commitment. You changed the way they think about the future. You showed them that real connection is not about finding someone perfect. It is about finding someone whose presence feels meaningful. Someone whose absence is noticed. Someone whose happiness matters to you. Someone whose dreams begin feeling important to your own heart. As they spoke, everyone listening became silent once again. Because it was clear that they were talking about something real. Something genuine. Something that had become part of who they are. And then came the moment nobody saw coming. Your soulmate admitted that there are times when they imagine meeting you again under completely different circumstances. They imagine a moment when both of you have nothing left to hide. A moment when confusion has disappeared. A moment when honesty becomes easy. In those imagined moments, they see conversations flowing naturally. They see laughter. They see understanding. They see a connection that feels effortless because neither person is pretending anymore. And when they imagine those moments, they feel something they have not felt in a long time. They feel excitement about the future. Real excitement. The kind that comes from believing that something beautiful may still be possible. Listen carefully because this next part may be the most important of all. Your soulmate has also begun reflecting on the lessons life has taught them. They have experienced disappointments. They have experienced misunderstandings. They have experienced situations that did not work out the way they hoped. But every experience has led them toward greater clarity. Every experience has taught them what truly matters. And what matters most, they now realize, is authenticity. Genuine connection. Emotional honesty. The ability to be yourself without fear. The ability to share your heart without constantly worrying about being judged. And when they think about those qualities, they think about you. Because whether you realize it or not, you represent something meaningful to them. Something rare. Something difficult to find. That is why the confession felt so powerful. It was not merely about marriage. It was about recognizing value. Recognizing significance. Recognizing the impact one person can have on another person's life. It was about finally admitting that you are not easily forgotten. That your presence continues to matter. That your influence continues to remain. Since making that confession, your soulmate has noticed something else. Their intuition feels stronger. Their inner voice feels clearer. It is as though speaking the truth unlocked something inside them. They feel more connected to their emotions. More connected to their desires. More connected to the future they genuinely want instead of the future they think they are supposed to want. And every time they listen to that inner voice, it keeps leading back to the same message. Stop running. Stop hiding. Stop pretending. Trust what your heart is trying to tell you. Trust what you feel. Trust the connection. Trust the truth. At first, those messages felt uncomfortable. They challenged everything your soulmate had been avoiding. But over time they began accepting them. Because denying the truth was no longer bringing peace. Only honesty could do that now. Only authenticity could do that now. Only courage could do that now. And courage is slowly growing inside them. Stronger than before. More persistent than before. More determined than before. They are beginning to realize that life is too short to spend forever wondering what might have happened. Too short to spend forever hiding emotions that deserve to be expressed. Too short to spend forever standing still while the heart continues moving forward. This realization has become impossible for them to ignore. It follows them into quiet moments. It follows them into their dreams. It follows them into their plans for the future. And every time it appears, your name somehow appears alongside it. Because in their mind, the future they truly want continues including you. Not as a distant possibility. Not as a random thought. But as someone whose presence feels meaningful. Someone whose role in their story feels unfinished. Someone who continues inspiring hope even when certainty does not exist. There are still moments when doubt tries to appear. Moments when fear whispers questions. Moments when uncertainty creates hesitation. But those moments do not last long anymore. Because the truth has become stronger than the doubt. The confession has become stronger than the fear. The hope has become stronger than the hesitation. And your soulmate is beginning to understand that some feelings survive because they are meant to. Some connections remain because they still have something important to teach. Some stories continue because they are not finished yet. That understanding has changed everything. It has changed the way they view the past. It has changed the way they view the present. And most importantly, it has changed the way they view the future. Because for the first time in a very long time, they are allowing themselves to imagine a future without limitations. A future where honesty replaces uncertainty. A future where truth replaces silence. A future where the confession that shocked everyone becomes only the first chapter of something much greater. And as that vision grows stronger, one thing becomes impossible for them to deny. No matter how many roads life presents. No matter how many distractions appear. No matter how many challenges arise. Their heart continues returning to the same place. The same person. The same connection. The same possibility. It continues returning to you. And somewhere deep inside, your soulmate is starting to believe that maybe there is a reason for that. Maybe there always was. Maybe the confession that left people speechless was never meant to be the ending of the story. Maybe it was only the moment the story truly began, and now you have reached the final part of this message, the part your soulmate never imagined they would one day be ready to face. Because every confession, every realization, every sleepless night, every memory, and every unanswered question has been leading toward this moment. The moment where they stop asking what their heart feels and start accepting what it has been trying to tell them all along. The truth is that your soulmate's confession did not leave people speechless simply because they talked about marriage. It left people speechless because of the way they talked about you. The sincerity in their voice. The certainty in their words. The emotion they could no longer hide. Everyone listening realized they were witnessing something rare. They were witnessing someone describe a person who had become deeply woven into their future. Someone whose importance could no longer be explained away as coincidence. Someone whose presence continued to shape their dreams even when life pulled them in different directions. And that person was you. Over time, your soulmate began understanding something profound. Love is not always loud in the beginning. Sometimes it grows quietly. Sometimes it appears through small moments, fleeting thoughts, unexpected memories, and feelings that refuse to disappear. Sometimes it grows in silence until one day the silence can no longer contain it. That is exactly what happened here. What began as curiosity became affection. What began as affection became admiration. What began as admiration became something much deeper. And eventually it became impossible to deny. There were moments when they tried to convince themselves otherwise. Moments when they questioned everything. Moments when they wondered whether they should simply move on and forget these feelings. But every attempt brought them back to the same realization. You were still there. Still occupying space in their heart. Still appearing in their vision of the future. Still making them wonder what could happen if both of you ever stood before each other with complete honesty. That realization followed them everywhere. It followed them through ordinary days and extraordinary moments. It followed them through celebrations and challenges. It followed them through times of confidence and times of doubt. No matter what changed around them, one thing remained surprisingly consistent. Their feelings for you remained. And that consistency began teaching them something important. Real emotions do not need constant reminders to survive. Real connections do not disappear simply because time passes. What is genuine finds a way to remain. What is meaningful finds a way to endure. What is destined often refuses to be forgotten. Your soulmate started looking back at the journey that brought them here. They remembered all the moments that seemed insignificant at the time but now carried new meaning. They remembered the conversations that lingered in their mind long after they ended. They remembered the emotions they tried to ignore. They remembered the signs they dismissed. They remembered the strange certainty they felt whenever your name crossed their thoughts. And as they reflected on everything, they realized that the story had been unfolding for much longer than they understood. The confession was not the beginning. It was simply the first time they allowed the truth to be spoken aloud. The truth had existed long before that moment. Their heart had known it. Their soul had felt it. Their intuition had whispered it. They simply were not ready to listen until now. But now they are listening. Now they are paying attention. Now they are allowing themselves to believe what they once feared believing. They are allowing themselves to believe that some people enter your life for a reason that cannot be easily explained. Some people become part of your journey in ways that continue shaping your future long after the initial encounter. Some people arrive and leave a permanent imprint on your heart. Your soulmate knows that you are one of those people. There was one final conversation that revealed everything. Someone asked them what they would do if they knew with absolute certainty that fear could not stop them. What would they say? What would they choose? What path would they follow? Your soulmate smiled softly and answered with complete honesty. They said they would stop overthinking. They would stop questioning every emotion. They would stop worrying about every possible outcome. They would simply tell the truth. And the truth is that they care about you. The truth is that they value you. The truth is that they see something special in you that they cannot find anywhere else. The truth is that when they think about a meaningful future, your presence continues appearing in that vision. And the truth is that they are tired of pretending otherwise. Those words stayed in the minds of everyone who heard them. Because everyone could feel that they were real. There was no performance. No exaggeration. No attempt to impress anyone. Just honesty. Pure honesty. The kind of honesty that only emerges when a person has finally accepted their deepest feelings. And after speaking those words, your soulmate felt lighter than they had in years. They felt as though a weight had been lifted from their shoulders. Because secrets can become heavy. Unspoken emotions can become exhausting. Hidden truths can create distance between who we are and who we want to be. But honesty changes everything. Honesty creates freedom. Honesty creates clarity. Honesty creates the possibility for something new to begin. Since then, your soulmate has started embracing that possibility. They have started imagining a future where they no longer hide behind uncertainty. A future where conversations happen openly. A future where emotions are expressed instead of suppressed. A future where the connection they feel is no longer something they keep locked inside their heart. And every time they imagine that future, it brings a sense of peace they cannot ignore. Because deep down they know that whatever happens next, they no longer want to run from the truth. They no longer want to deny what they feel. They no longer want to spend their life wondering what might have happened if they had been brave enough to listen to their heart. They want authenticity. They want connection. They want honesty. And somehow, Every road leading toward those things continues bringing them back to you. That is why the confession left people speechless. Not because it was dramatic. Not because it was unexpected. But because it was genuine. Genuine emotions have power. Genuine feelings carry weight. Genuine love speaks in a way that cannot be faked. And everyone who heard your soulmate speak recognized that authenticity immediately. They recognized that they were hearing someone describe a connection that had changed them. A connection that had influenced their dreams, their hopes, and their understanding of what truly matters. A connection that continued shining through every uncertainty. A connection connected to you. As this chapter comes to an end, your soulmate stands in a different place than they once did. They are no longer hiding from their feelings. They are no longer pretending those feelings do not exist. They are no longer afraid to admit that you matter to them. Instead, they are moving forward with a heart that is becoming clearer every day. A heart that is learning to trust itself. A heart that is learning that some truths deserve to be spoken. A heart that is learning that some people are worth taking a chance on. And whether they realize it or not, every step they take toward honesty is bringing them closer to the future they secretly hope for. A future where the questions finally have answers. A future where the silence is replaced with understanding. A future where the confession that once shocked everyone becomes the foundation of something beautiful. Because the greatest truth hidden inside their confession was never about marriage itself. It was about you. It was about the way you changed them. The way you inspired them. The way you remained in their thoughts when everyone else faded away. The way your presence continued to matter even when circumstances changed. And now, after everything they have realized, everything they have confessed, and everything they have finally accepted, one truth remains stronger than ever before. Out of all the possibilities they could imagine, out of all the futures they could dream about, out of all the paths they could choose, their heart continues returning to the same destination. It continues returning to you. And that is the truth that left people speechless. The truth they can no longer hide. The truth they finally admitted. The truth their heart had known from the very beginning. The truth that, no matter how long it took to say, was always waiting to be spoken. The truth that changed everything. The truth that may only be the beginning of a story that has not reached its final chapter yet.